There's a good chance that the bits and bytes that make up this video have travelled to you through a fibre optic submarine cable running along the ocean floor. These cables are part of the infrastructure that transmits almost all internet data around the world. And as everyone and everything becomes increasingly reliant on the internet to function, who owns, builds and ultimately controls this network will be more critical than ever. So here's how it works. When you send an email, tweet or post a photo online, that data is sent through cables or more commonly radio waves to a router or cell phone tower. From there, these signals are sent through a series of fibre optic cables in the form of pulses of light to an internet exchange which acts like a sorting office. Most data from users in a local area network pass through these hubs in order to connect to other networks. For networks and data centres on the other side of the world, this journey will likely traverse the seabed. These submarine cables crisscross the ocean before arriving at an anonymous-looking building like this. It's called a landing station, and it's the end of the line for the submarine cable before the data continues its journey over land again. To lay a cable across any ocean is a significant feat, but it's not a modern innovation. It's been happening for more than 160 years. By the early 20th century, the dominance of the telegraph was replaced by telephone technology that allowed voices to be carried over wires through electrical signals. Soon, submarine cables were carrying telephone traffic, which were laid worldwide, mostly by telecommunication monopolies such as the British Post Office and the American Telephone and Telegraph, or AT&T. Amidst the dot-com bubble in the 1990s, international consortiums began to invest in submarine cables too.
35 kilometers of fibre optics connects this one dealing room.
These private companies sold or leased the bandwidth to other commercial entities which needed more capacity. The last 10 years have seen a rapid expansion of the network to keep up with the demand for internet services. As of early 2020, there were 406 submarine cables that totaled around 750,000 miles in length, enough to go around the world 30 times. Some lines are relatively short, like the 81-mile Celtics Connect cable between Ireland and the United Kingdom, while others, such as the Asia-America Gateway cable, which runs across the Pacific Ocean, is 12,427 miles long. Packed within these cables are fibre optic strands that transmit data at speeds of more than 100,000 miles per second, and they carry more than 95% of international data. That's because undersea cables are still the fastest, most reliable, and least costly way to transmit information over vast distances. Today, content providers such as Google, Facebook, Amazon, and Microsoft own or lease more than half of the global undersea bandwidth. As of 2020, Google has invested in 16 cables that traverse most of the world. Facebook has stakes in 12 that cross both the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans, while Microsoft and Amazon have funded 5 cables each. As the tech giants expand their global network of data centers, these cables will be essential to meet the demand for their services such as cloud computing and streaming, which require minimal delay and lots of bandwidth. But the ownership of these submarine cables is drawing scrutiny from governments due to security concerns. Some analysts believe it's the latest frontier in the geopolitical battle between China and the US. In 2018, Australia prevented Chinese tech company Huawei from laying a cable between the country and the Solomon Islands over concerns that it would give the Chinese government access to its networks. In June, a US national security panel objected to an 8,000-mile cable being built by Facebook and Google connecting Hong Kong and the US, arguing that it would offer unprecedented opportunities for Chinese government espionage by capturing internet traffic. Many analysts believe that Huawei's growing involvement in the construction and repair of submarine cables worldwide could even allow China to disrupt internet links between nations, echoing strategies employed during World War I. Then the United Kingdom's dominance of the international telegraph infrastructure allowed it to cut off almost all of Germany's communication with the outside world. Likewise, the US had an espionage program in the 1970s to tap Russian undersea communication cables.